And that was a fantastically back-and-forth game there between LMQ and TSM. But I feel like LMQ got everything they wanted from Champion Select.
Yeah, there were a ton of options left open, too. The Maokai was still up, and nobody picked it or banned it away. I thought we were going to see TSM, but no, they go with the Mundo top. And I think that LMQ, they get your hands on that Tristana that Vasily is just so good on. He is 7-0 on that champion now, and you just can't let him have it. He was known for it in China. He comes over here, and he's still wreaking havoc with it.
Probably you had mentioned during Champions like that it was a pretty early Yasuo pick, but it didn't really seem to matter. He played it pretty flawlessly, was crushing in CS, picked up some kills, and was dealing quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, well, they banned out Syndra and Zed, which have chances to kind of make a move on Yasuo, and then they first picked Ryze. So they basically took out everything that's good against Yasuo in the mid lane, except for the Fizz, which I think was Bjergsen's pocket pick against it. But I think the pick and ban phase kind of showed LMQ's confidence. They blind picked their top laner and blind picked their mid laner, and they just go in with, what are you going to do about it? So I think they got all the picks they wanted, and they're really comfortable on them.
Yeah, and then they went for a Lucian Nami first pick bot lane here for TSM. And I was thinking, why don't you take the Yasuo Maokai, go with a combo like that and set yourself up for some team fights. But they didn't do it. Instead, they put that on the bottom lane because they want to do well against Vasily, but they didn't take the hypercarrier Tristana for the late game. They went with the Lucian for the lane bully.
And in fact, as the lane bullies, No Name focused them immediately in the game. At 4 minutes, a Lee Sin lane gank, picking up an early kill for more. And that seemed to kind of, push things in a tough direction for TSM.
Yeah, Vasily, he just got going very early on. He got through that early game hump the mid game hump of Tristana and started just showing up to fights and baiting so much pressure to that bot lane that it freed up objectives for the rest of the team near top.
Now, probably you've played against LMQ. They are known as this hyper-aggressive team, and they showed it. They got that early kill at 4 minutes, and then they're just relentless. They're running to different lanes, they're roaming, they're taking objectives, they're looking for brawls. What do you do as a team to slow them down?
I think the only way to kind of stop that aggression is to match it, in a way. Kind of make your own plays. Because I know if TSM warded up and just played defensively, they would have gotten rolled over. So I was really happy with TSM kind of making that play bot, even though they're sneaking Baron. I'm glad that TSM's making these plays because if you don't, you're just going to get 3-0'd in this kind of series. So I know TSM's fighting really hard. So although LMQ is having really strong early games, I wouldn't discount TSM yet.
Yeah, the other way to do it is stall it out to 80 minutes.
Yeah, there's always that option.
Yeah,
but
buddy.
You mentioned that 22-minute Baron sneak. So we're going to pull that up on your screen here, probably, if you don't mind walking us through it, because it was a pretty fantastic bait by LMQ where TSM thought they were making a great play to get back into it.
Yeah, we can roll this right now. So the LMQ leaves their bot lane bot and purposely overextends. So TSM's looking at it going, oh man, we got a free bot lane kill right now. So they're not even paying attention to the fact that they don't have a ward on Baron. So this is just really good execution. They throw Moore and Vasily basically, to the slaughter because it's giving them free Baron at this time. And now Vasily and Moore, all they have to do is just stall it out. Don't die that fast so they can't kind of react to the Baron if they call it.
And 22 minutes into the game, you're happy to give up those 2 kills for a Baron because there wasn't a ton that TSM could take off the back end of those 2 kills. So you pull out Baron 22 minutes in. On TSM, what are your thoughts going into the next game, knowing that LMQ is willing to try some of these risky things? Now all of a sudden you need to have vision everywhere. So what is your game plan going into the next game?
More vision, and don't let Xiao get a Blade of the Ruin King by 20 minutes. That's the big one there. I remember you were just like, how does he have that already? Because he's hitting the Baron for 300 plus damage every time.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Yeah, making sure their early game, they don't die to jungle ganks. I think that's kind of like the big thing with that. Lee Sin was able to just run into the jungle, like the enemy's red side jungle, because he had gotten that early first blood. And it kind of just, TSM wasn't able to do anything early because of bot lane died early, and then Lee Sin was just able to control the map.
And there was a point in the game where it looked like TSM had, gotten a handle on it and might be coming away with the victory as they attempted Baron about 30 minutes into the game. We're going to pull that one up as well because what happens is No Name ends up coming in and stealing it. So, Zyrene, I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, start rolling the clip out. Baron is just getting them all very low. No Name comes up. He actually kicks Amazing out of the pit and applies the pressure as the smite comes down, and it still gets picked up by Vasily there, just barely. So the pressure was on Amazing to make the smite play immediately because the Lee Sin was coming in, and he had the Q on the Baron. So you know that the resonating strike was going to follow up. So a lot of pressure there, and that is actually one of the smites that we saw Amazing miss again because he lost his second red buff, which was actually very big and a large part of that jungle pressure that we didn't see throughout that early mid-game portion around 7 minutes.
Yeah, something that bothers me about that Baron play there, I have to point it out because you're against a Lee Sin. You see them coming in. Everyone in TSM filed into the back of the Baron pit. Let him land his Q on the Baron of all things. Lee Sin is getting into the pit.
Oh, yeah.
If he wants to get into the pit, he's getting into the pit. So at least force him to Q one of you. That way he doesn't have the execute damage, and it really is a 50-50 as opposed to a 60-40, right? And then who knows? Maybe Amazing would have walked away with that Baron, or they wouldn't have had the damage to take it at all. So I don't know. Are there thoughts on that? Probably is that
peeved you?
I know. It does a little bit.
You.
Like from a shot calling perspective, is that something that is called for? Like everyone gets to the back of the pit, or is that just like I don't want to die? I don't want to die.
I think the call to go to the back of the pit was they were under the assumption they could do enough damage to get Baron into smite range. So they moved to the back thinking, okay, we can get this, and then maybe we'll have Kha'Zix jump to get out, maybe we'll have flashes to get out. But it turned out, they went to the back of the pit and didn't have the damage to take it down. So I think that was just, they didn't really realize that the Mundo damage on Baron goes down as the HP goes down. And I think Kha'Zix was taking it for a bit, so their DPS just started spiking as Baron was going down, and they just didn't really adapt quickly enough to it.
Well, LMQ walked away with that Baron, but there was still a lot of back and forth following that. We saw TSM take a lot of fights. So if that's any indication, this series is going to be fantastic because they extended that game really well. And LMQ, they gave us a solid win. And TSM, they didn't show a sign of backing off. So I think we're in for a great series. Now we want to shift gears, though, for just a minute and throw out our Twitter question of the day because we didn't do it earlier. And it may sound familiar. Once again, we're asking you, how do you PAX Prime? The first batch of responses were so good that we want another helping of those pictures from PAX, not from Prax, and how you and your friends are enjoying the action at home. So tweet us at LollySports and use the hashtag LCS. We're going to take a quick break, though, and when we return, we'll get back into our semifinal action with Game 2 between TSM and LMQ. Stay tuned.